Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast as part of a series or edition in regard to the Globular Global. This is an audio podcast as part of a Lunar Insurgence, and this is part of an audio podcast as part of Skelter Logistics. In this audio podcast series, in this audio podcast series or edition, there'll be a sort of an overview and looking at sickle cell anemia, and as part of this, synopsis, sickle cell anemia is estimated to affect sort of 1 in every 2,000 live births in England. And there are currently up to around 15,000 people with sickle cell anemia in England, making it one of the most sort of one of the somewhat most common genetic conditions. In the United States, sickle cell anemia is the most prevalent amongst African Americans. And occurs in about 1 in every 365 1 in every 365 African American births, and compared with 1 in every 16,300 Hispanic births, and 1 in every 100,000 non-Hispanic and sort of white births. This audio podcast also as part of this audio podcast, there is a published version of this works set to be sort of published or in print, if you like, as a sort of an article overview in around sickle cell anemia in the Biomedical Scientist from September 2023, and so this audio podcast series delves into sort of an overview in around sickle cell anemia and thalassemia. That draws this audio podcast synopsis to a close. This audio podcast as part of a globular global. This audio podcast as part of a lunar insurgence. This audio podcast as part of a skelter logistics, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Logistics production.